So I'm here at Laura's Canine Solutions. This is a site that I've been managing for Laura for about 6 years, and when she got it, it was just absolutely nothing growing on the bottom, on the ground layer whatsoever, nothing. It was cedar, very, very, very thick cedar, and very heavily eroded because there was no ground cover, there's no sun hitting the ground. And now we have not planted anything here extensively. Like maybe here and there there'll be something we planted, but almost all of this is coming from just allowing the seed bank to naturally express itself over time with proper management. So, mowing, but mowing at the right time to benefit the biodiversity, and at the same time harbor this business on this land. And those two things have been in symbiotic relationship since the land came under her care. And see, we have these brush berms, so all the brush, which we've had an enormous amount of brush clearing, mulching, harvesting of posts, and there's still way more work to do, but we have brush berms in the creek, so these are essentially beaver dams, and they just get better and better every year and more organized. And so this is all lowland, bottomland, hill country, so there's a really good seed bank here, there's really good soil. This is the Yopon thicket section, which is away from all the buildings so that it's not a fire hazard. This whole landscape was a tinderbox when we got it. It was dry. It was dead, a whole bunch of dead material and not much else. A bunch of cedar. And here it's spring, so it's just at its full expression. Just incredibly beautiful. All sorts of rare endemic species. There's a limestone glade at the back of this trail, the back of the property, that's been in, it's got the most amazing flower community. And we've just been, taking good care of this place. We're coming up on the kennels. And so all we've done here is basically allowed for nature to work for us. So we're not mowing at the wrong times. We're not constantly mowing. This is where the gray water sprinkles out and waters this whole area. So this will be green when nothing else around us is. And here's the kennel. There's the horse herb, and the trail, and there's the dogs, the kennels. And this trail just keeps going. We have mountain lion and deer and all sorts of things. Of course, it's safe for the dogs. That's not an issue. They're put up at night. We've got all sorts of wildlife in this area that is adapted to the management of this land, so we don't see very much of it, but it's here. Lots of beautiful birds and just a whole bunch of cool stuff. So this area has been less managed back here. So we haven't taken out as many trees, and you'll notice when the juniper gets, see in there, it's like the deepest, that's not even as deep shade as it was. There is significantly less biodiversity often in those really dense cedars compared to a more well-managed cedar forest like this. You know, a lot of that cedar, dense cedar is actually regrowth from previous cuttings of more healthy forest. You know, we're coming into the limestone glade here, and there's all sorts of artifacts. And yeah, this is an area that the rock holds moisture onto a very thin amount of really good soil, and it's kind of like a little wetland, almost like an ephemeral wetland. So it's dry, and then it's wet, and it'll stay wet for longer. Here we are at the limestone glade here. This has been open for a lot longer than elsewhere, and you'll see that there's a different assortment of species here, and actually it'll be I haven't seen these before. I've seen there's little pink ones, the little tiny pink flowers at a different time of year. There's this. And of course the Texas persimmons full of fruit. That's gonna ripen up, feed all of our wildlife, feed us. And so we mow this trail, and we'll knock down the invasive grasses, try to disfavor them. Just for the most part, just allowing the nature to take over. This is an area that I knocked down, and see the wildflowers are coming up here. This was all KR bluestem in this segment, but it was so thick that when I knocked it down, it actually ended up, to some extent, smothering itself with the dead material. This was very dense KR bluestem. It's a very interesting thing that this happened. I was not anticipating it to turn into something else. As you can see, now we have speargrass, where before this was dense KR bluestem. It's actually, without any application of pesticides or anything, herbicides, it's transitioning into something else. See, and every once in a while there's baby cedar that we allow to grow. I want this to become a shaded section to some extent. Like, you know, I like having both the shade and the sun. You know, still having the cedar. Like, I love cedar. It's super helpful, super useful, very beautiful. It's all the things that a tree ought to be. It's just too much of it or not enough. You know, you need that balance. So here is an area where this was dense, very dense cedar. And I was like, you know, I'd rather have the yaupon. And so I tried coppicing, pollarding these yaupons, and it didn't really work out too well. But you can see all the young yaupon is coming up now. It's being favored, or it's still in the shade, but now it's not profound shade. And I threw all this brush just down on the ground here so that it would prevent the deer from eating the regeneration. And then that's the property line, so I did a brush berm, just like a pretend fence along the property line so that we know where it runs to. And then it runs down into the creek down there. And this is also our property over here. And see, this is the KR bluestem coming up, but it seems to be having been disfavored to some extent. It was really thick, and it's coming back, but it's interesting to see that transition where it seems like it's actually dying back a little bit where we mowed, and that there was so much of it that when we mowed, the dead materials must have smothered some of those clumps. Because it's been very wet. It hasn't been, we've been having a really good spring. And then this is awesome. Look at this. So this is a bunch of native grasses in here. They like this partial shade. This has just been a wonderful section of property where just see all the native grasses coming back. And we really opened this part up. This was really, really thick. Whole lot of work. An enormous amount of work, an enormous amount of mulching cedars, and then putting that mulch in the right places. And this has been mulched here. And that's pretty deep. Yeah, a good 3 inches of mulch before we hit the soil. And being down in the lowlands, like, it hasn't smothered everything too much. You can see everything coming up after it. And then pulling out the sock bane. Yeah. And of course, letting all these cedar elms happen. Let's see what's in this. Nothing. And here's the dogs. Hey, puppies! And then we keep everything around this really short for the protection of the dogs from bugs and stuff. Like, we don't want anything to be able to crawl up into the dogs, so it doesn't. We keep it all short. We keep that all the way around this, all the way around both of them. We keep the grass cut really well down to the ground. Nice fire break. And you can see, like, way back in there, it just gets really nasty and thick. But once you come into the fence line, it actually, having less trees has created a much more abundant place. And this is, oh my gosh, it just all looks so amazing right now. Oh, this is blue mist flower, the big kind, the Greg's mist. And this is just, it just does its thing. It's really amazing. This is our septic. And been working on trails all the way through this. It's walkable. And here's some more KR. Blue stem, invasive. And then here's the other side of the creek. So the creek comes here and then goes down this way. We have these brush berms all the way across it. We have many of them, just to slow the water down and give it the stone check dam and the brush berm to benefit this tree to soak in as much water as possible at this spot. The brush berms. What this does is just organizes the brush and gives us the ability. Oh, there's something there, a little dove. There he goes. And then there's something over there. Maybe a deer. Yeah, and just this is a cool area down here. Lots of brush berms we've been organizing tighter and tighter over time, and this was a cave at one point and it collapsed. Just a beautiful little bit of rock. I love this spot. The rock here is so cool. And there's our mallow, Indian mallow. I love this mallow. An old tree there. And here's what these stone, I put this stone check dam right here. The water's gonna be a waterfall right there. It's gonna fall. It's gonna be going really fast and it slows. This check dam just slows it way down. And since I did that, we've had these hackberries growing up right here. This native stuff coming up out of the rock. There's just like a little bit more soil right here. See this? Some nice, what would have run off. And then yeah, same here. Like this was just bedrock in this section, and you can see it's filling in with mulch, starting to stratify and deposit organic material. And this is fairly new. This is yet to have a flood hit it, but the rock check dam has. And so I usually do a rock check dam first, because that's the way beavers do it. They build the rock check dam and then they build their wooden structure on top of it and just reinforce it better and better over time. And yeah, man. So many birds here and wildflowers and just beautiful stuff right now. This is our aquifer right here. That would be Edwards limestone, Texas holy rock. There's about 300 to 700 feet of it underneath me right now. And these brush berms and all this ground cover gives the water the chance to soak into the ground, where otherwise it would just shoot off down there until it reached the next creek, keep going until it hits the river, keep going until it gets to the ocean. And in the meantime, sometimes that creates, this area has had some of the world record flash floods. Some of the worst in the whole world have happened here. We've gotten, 20 inches of rainfall within 3 hours. That was in 1932, I think. But this is a consistent thing. It's not unprecedented at all. Look at this. Here we have this Texas holy rock, the soil being built on it, and we have mushrooms, insects, and little cactus. Look at that, I've never seen that before. I wonder what kind that is. So we get an excess of water here, and the goal is to soak it all into the ground. This area, I'm in a flood right now. This is a creek that has water in it every couple years. And it probably used to flow perennially at one point. But, that's, it's something that's possible, but it probably has just been like this, a dry creek. In this area, who knows what it looked like 300 years ago. This could have been a savanna. We have these ancient oak trees everywhere. And our cedar trees, I don't see many cedars that are like over 100 years old. Like this one this is a pretty big one. Like this is about the oldest ones we see around this area. So this is not exactly a natural, a undisturbed landscape. Like this whole area is heavily disturbed. And that's had a lot of ramifications over time. So look at here. This is what a lot of the place looked like, if not denser, just the water stripping the bottom, stripping all the soil away, and then just deep, deep shade, and very dense, very hard to move through. And then over time we've just thinned the trees, and you can see the transition. It gets green and the trees thin out somewhat, and the water slows down, so there's more water in the soil in this part, more sun for the plants to grow in. And then, you know, it's a thing. I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself. We have another, just catching the water at every opportunity. I can't take credit for this part. This is pretty interesting how this blue mist flower has expanded over time. I think the dogs also deter the deer. So while this place has more food than elsewhere, the deer kind of can only hang out here for so long in a day and eat everything down before the dogs and the people move them on into more quiet spaces. So yeah, thanks for listening. It's just a little walkthrough of Lara's Canine Solutions and the work we've been doing here on the landscape, specifically just like the nature of this property and how it's been evolving over time, and in this nice wet spring amid an enormous drought, the way the plants are responding. Just a little walkthrough to look upon in years to come and see what's going on. All right, later.